This is the most prominent building on the Riyadh skyline and home to one of the largest companies on the Tadawal. It's named after Prince Alwaleed Bin Talal's investment arm, Kingdom Holding. As the region's richest man, Prince Alwaleed Bin Talal Al Saud's wealth has been one of contention. Ranked 30th on the Forbes list of the wealthiest people at over $20 billion, he's estimated by Bloomberg to be worth over $30 billion. But it was Alwaleed's $550 million investment into the embattled Citigroup back in the 1990s that made him a billionaire and a global player. Since then, he has maintained high-profile stakes in News Corp, CNN's parent company Time Warner, and Walt Disney, amongst others. But in the new media sphere, his $300 million stake in Twitter has quadrupled in value in just 2 years. And he had a 5% position in technology group Apple, which he bought for $115 million back in 1997. In my interview with Prince Alwaleed, I started by asking him if Tim Cook's strategy at Apple to bundle all the products is the correct one.
Well, clearly, I think this was a very big experiment and exam for the post-era of Steve Jobs. You know, when a company reaches a $400 billion market cap, it is very difficult to sustain and maintain the same growth like if you are a $20 or $30 billion company. So we have to see. So I think we have to give it a year or two to see how things will unfold in the Apple news story.
We followed you in your investment with News Corp for years. Is it better that Rupert Murdoch was not able to take control of Time Warner, the parent company of CNN?
I mean, combining both companies would have been really a dream proposal, because the amount of content the combined company would have had would have been tremendous. But clearly, I think we would have still faced some antitrust regulations. But I think that Mr. Murdoch chose to withdraw the offer because he's now very careful and is watching his share price. And you see that the market reaction was not very positive.
He shouldn't go back in. You think he should just leave it?
No, I think he did plant the seed now. But I think, knowing Mr. Murdoch, I think the idea is still in his mind. But I think that the time is not right now, because the management of Time was against it, and the shareholders of Fox were not also for it.
It's interesting to me that billionaires usually like to downplay their wealth, but I know you're very upset at the Forbes valuation of around $20 billion in 2013 and 2014. They have you ranked at 30, and you filed a lawsuit. What are you hoping to accomplish?
This thing's been going on for a decade, so it's not a secret. They've been undervaluing my wealth since 10 years, but really I didn't give attention to that at all. But when they came and they hit the integrity of Saudi Arabia and Kingdom Holding and myself, that's when I didn't accept that, and that's why we filed a lawsuit in the UK, and the UK courts have accepted the lawsuit, and now this is taking its full course in the UK.
As you know, Your Highness, the world's gotten very used to $100 oil, but we've seen some recent weakness. Does it concern you that the break-even point for Saudi Arabia now is around $95 to $98 a barrel, because the spending's gone up so rapidly after the Arab Spring?
It is a huge concern. Actually, it's a worry. When the price of oil, I will not say collapse, but it goes down drastically from the 110 and 20 to the low 90s. I have always called publicly and privately for the Saudi government to be sure to reduce its dependence on oil, because as stands today, 90% of our budget, annual budget, is dependent on oil. And 50% of our GDP is oil-based, which is very dangerous and scary. It's not correct. We have to diversify very fast. And hopefully there's an early warning for the government, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Oil, Ministry of Economy, to really get the shape in order and begin proposing to the king some serious alternatives for Saudi Arabia and to be less dependent on this commodity, which is oil.
Of course, the kingdom's oil wealth has sparked investment, but the regional terrorist threat could halt growth. In part 2 of our interview with Prince Alwaleed, I ask him what should be the right response to ISIS. Welcome back to Marketplace Middle East. We know Prince Alwaleed Bin Talal as a billion-dollar investor, but as a nephew to King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia, he's able to speak his mind on a range of issues. In our exclusive interview here in Riyadh, I asked Prince Alwaleed whether ISIS should be contained or eliminated.
We've seen how President Obama developed from, first of all, containing, then degrading, And now I think we reach a stage of demolishing and eradicating. I think that with each killing that takes place, unfortunately, every time, hopefully the world community will be more united in really eradicating this disease that's really infecting the whole Middle Eastern region, that and inevitably will be contagious to other countries in the world.
Saudi Arabia held exercises earlier this year with 130,000 troops. Is it a fair assessment to say they want a very strong response by the kingdom here? And would Saudi Arabia put troops on the ground, do you think?
No, I think that Saudi Arabia would not be involved directly in fighting the ISIS in Iraq or Syria, because really this does not really affect, although it affected implicitly, it does not really affect Saudi Arabia explicitly. But clearly this military maneuvers that took place a few months ago, it's a multifaceted message. It's a message to Iran, number one, is that we're going to defend our territory and defend the GCC countries, number one. Number two, it's a message also to the ISIS group in Iraq, and also a message to the southern border. So there's a big vacuum in the Arab world. So clearly military power is a very important message to the whole world, because this could be translated eventually into political power.
A mistrust with Washington and a mistrust with President Obama. Do they not trust him after the Arab Spring and what's transpired in Syria, Egypt, and even Libya?
I think when Obama took over, expectations were raised substantially, dramatically in the Arab world, the Muslim world. But clearly what took place, you know, by having this rapprochement with Iran without really informing the Arab world, and especially Saudi Arabia, by putting a red line against Syria, using chemical weapons, and having Syria use chemical weapons, and still he blinked when Russia exerted pressure on him. And his late reply on ISIS took him more than 2 months to assemble the team of 10 Arab countries and Turkey to really face ISIS head on. So all these things has shaken the trust, not only Saudi Arabia, but the whole Arab world really in the Obama administration. But I believe there's a good chance right now to prove to the Arab world and the Islamic world and the whole world in general that Obama is willing to follow up and follow through with his words right now to really eradicate and demolish completely ISIS. Even it's going to take 3-4 years to use his own words.
Prince Alwaleed Bin Talal in his kingdom-holding tower here in Riyadh. And that's all for this edition of CNN Marketplace Middle East. I'm John Defterius. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.